What's up, guys? My name is Chase Minifield. I'm here to show you this video. We're talking about how I went from the NFL to building a seven-figure tech business. So just as like most people, when I left the NFL, I didn't know what my next step would be. I didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up building a seven-figure tech business, and I'm here to talk about in this video what I learned from the locker room that I could apply to the boardroom. So here we go. My name is Chase Minifield. I'm a former NFL player. I'm a former Forbes 30 under 30 in 2019. I don't necessarily like to harp on that, but a lot of people that's my age and younger think of that as a large accomplishment. It is a great accomplishment, but doesn't necessarily define success. But I like to use it because it can show that, somebody can go from the top of one career in football and be a 1% there, and then come into another industry and be a 1% or somewhere else. So for me, that was in, the tech industry. So I think that's an important piece of my story, is being able to do that. But, now I'm a tech CEO. My journey, it wasn't an easy journey, but now I run a multi-million-dollar company with EZOS, and, I'm here to share my playbook with you guys. So this is the things that I want to talk about when we go through this process. And it's going to be very conversational. It's not going to be a situation where I'm just rambling. I just want this to be a conversational, impactful and useful video that I can share with you guys. So I'm just going to tell my story a little bit for you guys. The NFL was always my main dream. There was nothing else I really wanted to do. I thought I was a pretty good football player. I think a lot of people that may have followed my career would deem the same thing. Dealt with a lot of injuries. I thought that, I would get 20 years, 15 years, 10 years in the NFL, be able to have a couple large contracts, Pro Bowls. I thought I was that type of caliber of player. My story didn't end up like that. And I went through a period once I got done playing where, a lot of people don't get the chance to just be like, all right, I'm done playing. And I definitely wanted to play, but they didn't want me to play, right? So it got to the point where, the investment on someone like myself with a long injury history became less and less likely the more and more times I got injured. My last injury was actually a concussion before I went to the CFL and played. I really didn't even play in the CFL, honestly. I went up there for a training camp and got to play in one preseason game. And the first series, I got hurt and tore my Achilles. But in between that time frame of like my last NFL game and my first CFL game, it was a year of just like, I gave myself 1 year to figure it out and be like, I wonder if the NFL's going to call. I wonder if any team's going to want to play, want to give me a tryout. I don't think I got one tryout. I don't think I got one call. And in that time frame, I was working for my dad, who's also a former NFL player, and he's also an entrepreneur as well. After his career was over, and he put me on a project that was a new project that he was working on, and it was actually in the tech space as well, where he created a product that was called the MED. And it was essentially selling to doctors' offices, and it was a range of motion tool for people that were coming off of post-knee surgeries, right? And it was using Bluetooth and app and automation and being able to basically be able to not have to go to the doctor's office to know where your range of motion was at to be able to hit your goals. So it was actually a lot of things that was built off of him working with a lot of the injuries that I had and how we were dealing with my ACLs and my recoveries and things of that nature. So I actually got to be the front person on that. Pretty much like he was technically the CEO, but I was doing everything on the ground. So I guess I would call myself the COO, right? I was learning how to sell. I was learning how to market. I was learning how to conduct a pitch. I was doing research and prospecting. So everything, I didn't do it none of the money or the financials, but everything that it come to trying to grow that business, I was responsible for. So in that process, I got like a crash course in business. At the same time, I was actually going to school at the University of Louisville, getting my master's degree. And I was applying a lot of the things that I was learning in that program. I was in a sports administration program. I was applying a lot of those things that I was learning to ideas that I had in my head as far as like, what business do I want to start? Because I know I didn't want to work for my dad the whole time, and I know I didn't want to be in an office, but I did know I wanted to start something. And when I was going to school, I started to really figure out like, learn law, learn contracting, learn marketing, learn finance balance sheets, income statements, P&Ls. I learned all that, and I wasn't just learning it to learn it, or to like try to check a box with like having a master's degree. I was learning it and applying it to my day to day that I was in, where I was working for my dad and trying to create my own businesses. So, um, yeah, that's how my kind of career ended, and kind of like the stint from my last NFL game where I was a starting corner playing against the Indianapolis Colts, and I got a concussion, got cut the next couple weeks, um, and then getting to go home, try to figure out where I'm going from there, and then before I was getting a chance in the CFL, where I decided like this is my last chance, this is my last effort to play. In between that time frame, this is what I was doing. I was at school and I was running this business with my dad. So that's where things kind of, started to click and figure out like I can do something outside of sports. The turning point that I would say that I really learned was when my Achilles tour in Toronto at my first CFL preseason game. In that process, I realized that you can't force a circle in a square hole. You can't force a circle in a square hole, right? Like it's not gonna fit, or a triangle hole. It's not gonna fit. So the same shape has to fit into the same hole. And sometimes you get to the point where you start forcing things, and it's not normal. And I had a realization up there on that operating table that I'm forcing something that is not what my story is supposed to be. And whenever you start forcing something that's not what your story is supposed to be, you never get good results. And in that point, I realized it's time to take my discipline, the things I've learned with teamwork, the things I've learned with problem solving, that I've also learned that I've basically football has given me, working with a team and being able to figure out and strategize on the football field. Now it's time for me to apply all this and all the discipline and the want to be great. I need to apply this to my own vision and my own thoughts. So I just had to, really just put the pieces together and like go do it in my mind. I think my dad, in the structure of what he was able to provide me, kind of showed me how to do it. Now I need to just go take a chance on me being able to have my own brand, my own product, my own service, and go and build it and sell it myself. So that's what I did. I started to identify a problem. I didn't start off big with like, hey, I'm going tech and I'm going this and I'm going that. I wanted to do something that I know people were paying for right out the gate, right? So what I knew people were paying for were services, cleaning, painting, moving. I wanted to do things that I know people paid for, and I wanted to get those type of business deals and those type of contracts. I tried everything from, and basically my goal was to undercut, right? So my goal was to really just go in there and undercut anybody that was doing those services for specific people that I was trying to work for. And I learned that I tried to sell it to individuals, to like houses and people, and be like, hey, let me come clean your house. Let me get a team to come clean your house. Let me get a team to come help you move. And that was a little bit successful. It was more so like my mom's friends trying to really bring, say, hey, kid Chase in his fridge, go do this. But really what I wanted to figure out was, how do I get into a business? How do I get into these large clients, companies that can pay big dollars and things of that nature? So University of Kentucky is, where I'm from, Lexington, Kentucky, but University of Kentucky is the big dog in Lexington, Kentucky. And I wanted to try to figure out how I can work for them and how I can make some money from that space. So that's kind of the first steps of me getting into business. And what I kind of learned was, who am I selling to? I knew what services I wanted to sell. I wanted to sell something that they already buy. But then the second thing was like, who do I sell to? Do I go consumers, where it's more like the general public? Or do I go enterprise or business to business with some like companies? I think there's some advantages from going to the business side. It's a little bit more predictable. You have actual budgets. It's not so volatile and business that you're looking. You don't have to go always fishing for business like you do on the consumer side. Consumer side's got to be very heavy marketing. You got to always fish. You got to always find where your next dollar is coming from. And I wanted something a little bit more consistent. So that's why I decided to go down the business side. So that gives you guys an idea of how I just kind of got started and structured my way into business and where I wanted to kind of focus at. But the key things that I want to touch on in this video is like, what are the principles from the football side of things that I applied immediately to the business side of things, and was like, business will not work if I do not have these things in place. First and foremost is discipline. I had to learn how to discipline myself on a business schedule versus a football schedule. in football, I was waking up early and I was running and I was working out and I was, you know, had a schedule like that. But then I would go to the office and or go to the facility and I would spend all day there watching film and doing my stuff for practice and things of that nature. It never turned into a space where, I would sit down and be just there from like it would take for me to do in business. So yeah, I had to discipline myself, right? I had to discipline myself from the ability to have kind of a free flow schedule on the football side to like, what does a business schedule look like? And I kind of got there with my dad, working with my dad as well. And like he had a very strict schedule where it was like 8 a.m. in the office, 4 p.m. leave, 1 hour lunch, things of that nature, right? So I kind of got that structure and got onto that schedule of having to like be down there. But when it was like me having to do stuff for myself, I had to really hold myself accountable. So what I did was I went to my basement, I got my computer set up, and I was like, set the clock, start the clock, 8 hours down here straight, like 8 hours straight. No matter what I was doing, what I was working on, I need to be there 8 hours straight. And it became easier and easier to do, and it becomes more comfortable. And I still do that to this day. I don't time it, but like it's natural for me to show up and have that type of schedule. And that discipline started with me just being like, lock yourself in this room for 8 hours. Don't leave out of it. Don't go get on the game. Don't go to the mall. Don't go, whatever you may do in that time frame. Like treat it like this is your business. So that's the first thing I would say is being able to discipline yourself is a direct characteristic. And then second thing is resilience, right? The resilience in the football side is obvious, whether you get injured, whether you're dealing with losses, whether you're dealing with being a second string player and you want to be a first string player. The resilience is a no-brainer that you've got to have when you're on the sports field. In business, resilience is just as strong. Like the ability to say, I won't die, I won't quit, we'll find a better way, we will win. Those different types of mindsets and those tools is extremely important in the business side because you're going to continue to come up with adversity in the business side. Let me just name some adversities that I've faced in the business right now. The inability to raise capital. A lot of investors telling you, no, this isn't good, this isn't the right fit, these different type of things like that. Clients, the inability to sell, people not finding your product valuable enough. Those are all different types of things. Cash flow, people paying you late, figuring out how to pay your people once you got your clients paying you late, and it always comes down to you being able to pay your people. So like that type of resilience is difficult, man. It's difficult. When they say that entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, those three things I just talked about, the inability to raise capital, the inability to get paid on time, and the inability to sell your product at a high rate or a high level, those three things will keep you up at night. But the resilience that I've been able to see from football and playing a position at cornerback where it's a position that people expect me to fail, to here is like exact similarity, right? Like people expect me to fail. People wish I fail. People hope I fail. And I show up every day and make sure that they don't have a story that they can say, I told you so, So that's what keeps me going with those spaces. So discipline, resilience, and then I got one more. The last one is belief. Honestly, like you gotta have a how do I put this? You gotta have it's like unnatural. It's I call it a delusional. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a delusional belief in yourself. Somebody that thinks they're gonna make it in the NFL or make it to the NFL from a small town or a small state or a small school, they have a delusional belief in themselves. It takes that same type of confidence and that same type of ability and that same type of just like, I don't care what nobody says, to be successful in business. So, I mean, there's nothing else you can really say. Like you gotta have a belief in yourself that no matter what happens, we will find a way to figure it out and get it done. Whether it's more hours that we need to put in, whether it's more reading or studying that we need to do, but whatever it's going to take, we're going to figure out a way to get to the next level. So those are my big three right there: discipline, resilience, and delusional confidence. Those are the three things that directly correlate from the football field to the business field, or from the football field to the boardroom.